So we're ready to do the newspapers. Mama V, good morning to you. How was your weekend?
It was okay.
Mama V is looking at you with some expectation.
Nah,
she's
no
not.
expectations.
I wanted to say
Actually,
she's beautiful.
I want to talk about Chelsea right now.
Before you get excited, oh you!
I thought we'll be
Before you get excited,
Why do you have to
look
talk about
wonderful.
Chelsea now?
I love the color of your dress. What
Thank
color
you.
is that?
I have no idea.
And you hear no. But yes, you are excited about Chelsea.
What
sort of player hating is this? What did Chelsea ever do to you?
I love Chelsea. Yeah. Chelsea.
Is it on the lineup?
What, Chelsea?
Is it a lion that left the logo? Or what?
I've seen some.
Yeah, leaving.
But
can I say good morning to Dennis Thompson? Hello. Hey. Okay.
Allah.
Maybe we should do the newspapers.
I don't want to be hazard right now.
Well, good morning if you're a Chelsea fan waking up this morning. It is not gone. It is still 6-0.
We got hit by a tornado. I don't know how.
So
for me, I got off my seat after 2-0. And before I get out the door, it was 3.
Oh.
And before I get home, it was 4. I didn't know. I woke up and it was 6.
And it was 6. Oh.
So, and that's the reality. It's not as if I'm joking.
A very 6 morning to you.
Yeah.
Then.
Somebody was sending this text around that text stop to 1-1 something to stop the goals from going.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
we're having such a good
hardcore.
time.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
Have you
let's
got
do
that
the
out of your
newspapers.
system?
Yeah.
You feel better now?
Yeah,
That's
I'll
what
do
she
part 2
wanted.
later.
Charlie.
Look, we love you, Chelsea fans.
Chelsea, we got Surrey Bold. Anyway, so we have to do the newspapers.
We
Start with the
do.
Daily Graphic, Mama V.
Front page of the Daily Graphic
So then we'll
newspaper.
order you so that we'll keep you in check. The way you're Chelsea hyped this morning.
God has blessed Ghana abundantly. President says it's motivation to build National Cathedral. President Kufuor being assisted in that photograph by Mr. Steve Green, the founder of the Museum of the Bible, to cut the cake at the fundraising ceremony in Washington, D.C. Subsequently, we know that he went to Ethiopia. Child Rights International bemoans surge in abuse of children. We have that conversation on our show this morning. Make GTUC fully fledged university. Also, 8 arrested for abducting Achim Abodom chief. That story is on page 20 in the newspaper. Center spread, Central Region Archives Department left to rot. That's not surprising.
Still heartbreaking, though.
Yeah. Okay. Story by Mr. Timothy Goba. Good morning to you, sir, if you're watching. Back page. Daily Graphic. UDS alumni refurbish facilities, present vehicles to university. Hypertension leading cause of death in the Eastern region. Another story there on the back page of the graphic today.
All right, then. I have the Ghanaian Times. Let's have a look at the front page this morning. And quite a number of stories. But banner headline, SHS to remain free for all as government rejects suggestions for rich parents to pay fees. This is fascinating stuff, you know. But we've talked enough about it, I think. President urges African leaders to scale up commitment to SDGs. Varsity education to be reduced to 3 years. And this is a story that the Ministry of Education has issued a statement
to the bank.
Yeah, correct, if you will.
To the bank.
What they are saying is that the minister suggested that a conversation can be had at this time about whether or not university education can be reduced from 4 to 3 years.
Okay.
They also said there can be a discussion about whether at the end of SHS, a diploma can be issued to those who have completed SHS. And then those who want to continue to university would then go and write WASI. So if you want to just leave SHS and go and work, you have a diploma to allow you to do that. And then if you want to go to university, you go ahead and write WASI. So he's saying that is a suggestion.
Okay.
He's mooting the idea.
Oh,
you know,
for
so
us to
people
having
can.
a conversation.
That's right. Let's have a chat about it.
When we get into details of
yes.
that, we can have a small conversation on that.
Of our
Yeah.
own. Yes.
Yes. Right.
Okay.
Here.
I didn't know we would be getting
I have
into
a
it.
thing to say.
You have a thing to say. Then we'll
Yes.
definitely have to come back to it. All right. Ghanaian passport now valid for 10 years. And I think that's when you go and renew it, or when you go for a new one.
Roland is super excited about that.
Yeah, 10 years is
Within
cool.
that 10 years, where would you be going?
I don't know, but even if you want to go somewhere and it's 5 years, just renew it and go. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
For you, the years don't matter.
No, it's not that it doesn't matter, but I'm yet to understand the excitement.
Well, the fact that you won't go through the hassle,
Yeah,
like
but
when you're going to renew.
much
I guess
of
that's what it is.
How much of a big improvement to your life is it?
The protocol you go through, that's not what we all go through.
We all go through it.
It is different.
No, let's be clear, we all go through it. But if I have to go through it yes, I get the convenience. If I have to go through it once every 10 years rather than 5 years,
yeah,
that's great.
Exactly.
That's great. It's a positive, but it's kind of. I wish they would. There's so much more they could do to make our lives better than just move the passport validity to 10 years. Black satellites out of under 20 AFCON. Coach Kobler blames exit on poor preparation. This is on the back page of Ghanaian Times. Also, Ginger halts Mr. K's dominance. And this is a golf story, very interesting. Go check it out. Shall I do the daily guide quickly before?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, okay. So Ghana can't be poor. That's the president, Nana. Passport now 10 years. Otumfuo tours Kijitia and Kumasi airports. JB's wife stings police over sexual assault and waste beads. This is a fascinating story. I don't know if you followed it over the weekend.
Yeah, I read her posts.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. We need to talk about that. Kotoko Paint Baba Yara Red. That's on the back page, by the way. Kotoko Paint Baba Yara Red. Kickoff time now 4 p.m. French envoy calls on minister. NYA boss commends contractor. National ex-country rocks Mpoho. And that's it for the back page.
All right, so we have the Dispatch newspaper. The front page says what we said about the dangers of vigilante groups on October 23, 2018. They bring you a recall of the story. It says, we must disband all vigilante groups else. It has an attached picture of the Minister of National Security. Youth, if you are approached to undertake any violent activity, be wise. All the story on the back page. And housing in northern, eastern, Bonafo and western regions all there. And the EIU on Ghana. Okay. Let's look at the... Okay, so let's look at the informer. It says Ekufado busted as MPP recruits tax to disrupt 2020 elections. And this story couch from a supposed letter. We're told that has been corroborated somewhere by JoyNews from the Regional Security Liaison Officer, Upper West Regional Coordinating Council.
The one that's asking them to present 11
a
names.
number of names to be part of an internal security for the elections for 2020. And then we have the Statesman newspaper. It has on the front page mandates for regions ready. President gives effect to 6 new areas this week. All on the front page of the Daily Statesman newspaper. Estelle Clue at 100, follow in her footsteps. Ghana to host German African Summit. And then we have world-class education needs world-class teachers. Napo. And those are the stories we have.
Let's do the Finder newspaper. Front page of the Finder. Telcos to sue perpetrators of fiber cuts. President solicits support of diasporans for National Cathedral. Also, President to present CLL, that's constitutional instruments on new regions to chiefs and the people. That's legal backing for the creation of the regions. Interior Ministry renews curfew on 4 towns, and Japan partners Ghana on industrialization agenda. That will be it for what's on the front page of the Finder by way of headlines.
Indeed. Right then, so for me, I think this JB's wife story and the education ministry story are 2 that we could touch on really quickly on JB's wife, Madam Ivy Heward Mills. I met her once. I was privileged to be invited to dinner at one of the CEOs of one of our multinationals' home, and she was there with her late husband. This was back in 2014. and I met them both, and they were wonderful. She very gracious, lovely lady. I don't have any reason to doubt any detail of the post that she put up. I have no reason to doubt it. But I noticed that the Daily Guide is seeking to perhaps bring in the side of the police on this. So they say that they've seen, or they've had access to records of the interrogation session between the police and her after the murder. They say, of course, they don't know anything about the phone call that she describes, where some head of some CID unit was asking her to marry him. They say they don't know anything about that. But regarding the interview, they say that the information they have is that the police were inquiring about some beads that they saw in Mr. J.B. Dankwa Edu's bedroom. Okay, and they wanted to know whether they belonged to her. And according to the Daily Guide, she told the police that she doesn't wear them. She's never worn them. You know, she hasn't worn them in ages. Doesn't remember the last time she wore them, so they are not hers. But she also told the police that there's no way they could belong to some other woman. Her husband wouldn't have brought another woman into their marital home. That is the Daily Guide's version of this interrogation that happened between the police.
So let's go back a bit. It's been 3 years already since her husband was killed in his own home, in their home.
I think it's exactly February.
Yeah.
Yes.
So on the day of the anniversary, she put up a post talking about how the murder has not been solved, and she
doesn't trust the police to be able to do it.
And she makes the point about this MP in the UK who was murdered. Was it just about the same time?
Yes.
But that was resolved like just within 5 months.
Yeah.
And then so she's kind of linking that or comparing that, because this was also a sitting member of parliament who was murdered. Yeah. And then we've been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it's still not being resolved. Yeah. And she also talks about, and you make the points, the police phone call, essentially somebody harassing her, somebody who's going through this, a policeman, you know, making sexual advances like it's a joke, like it's nothing.
And telling her to marry him, according to her post. I mean, look, I've got to say, the police, forget about the accusations. They are bad enough, and I mean, they merit their own conversation. But the fact that this thing hasn't been solved, Amavi, I don't understand it. Yeah. I don't understand it. And this is something that has straddled two administrations. Okay, so this is not a political thing. I don't see where the politics is in this. Well, it is a police thing. You know, it's a police thing. The police have failed to solve this. I mean, to bring the murderers to justice. They have somebody in custody. They are taking this person through.
Actually got two people.
Yes, they are taking these persons through a trial that, honestly, baffles me in its snail's pace. You know, I've never heard of anything going so slow. Something this prominent, this important, going so slowly. It baffles me.
We've
Beggars
had
belief.
The judge in the case complain several times.
But he's the judge. Who is he complaining to?
No, about how the prosecution kept delaying, because you know, they would come and say and ask for adjournments and, you know, that kind of thing.
Again,
so,
Mamabi, he's the judge. Who is he complaining to? If they are moving slow, the one person who has the power to make them move fast is the judge.
What else can you do? Because you're sitting down and you're looking at the things that they are bringing.
Yes, Mama B.
And what I don't know where they got to, but because they assembled the people to the jury, if you like, to begin the trial. I'm not updated on where they got to, but I know that the judge in this case complained about the prosecution.
Yes, but the point is, if the prosecution is delaying, not bringing details and documents at the right time that they should, the one person who can compel them to do so is the judge. You tell them, bring this document by this date or face contempt. That's what judges do. That's the one power that they have to move things along. So I'm surprised to hear that he is complaining.
It doesn't. It's not so easy as you say it.
No,
Look,
I'm not saying a judge's job is easy.
At
What
the
I'm
end-
saying
No,
is
I
that
get it.
they have the
It's
power
not-
to
you
move things
can't-
along.
At the end
and
of
if
the
things
day-
don't move along, they have the power to sanction those who are slowing the courts down.
At the end
they have the power.
At the end of the day, it also speaks volumes about the posture of our institutions that are mandated by the Constitution to do what is right by their citizens. And we have seen variedly institutions like the judiciary in itself, the Ghana Police Service, and the other institutions. It could even be the Ghana Education Service, and even the Ministry of Education, etc., and even the Ministry of Health, that seem to have a certain laxity towards things that affect the human rights and the well-being of the people they have been set up to serve. And at the end of the day, we as citizens have not been able to question why we have those institutions set up and they have not been able to live up to their responsibility to us. I don't know where we have to start the questioning from. Who has to start the conversation, whether it's the media or the entire society, including civil society? But it looks like we've been quiet and just being always dormant.
On this matter?
Very dormant on, because you go to the prisons and they tell you about people who have been in remand for things that if you get into, you get to find that they could have been dismissed in either a month or two. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how the judicial processes go, but obviously they are too slow. And there's something that the legal practitioners tend to use. The wheels of justice grind slowly, and itself, that cliche tends to tell you that you just have to wait even if it's 100 years. But you compare that to what happens elsewhere in the more developed countries, and you get to find that even if it's supposed to be grinding slowly, they grind so faster. It surprises you. They even go back centuries or even decades into crimes that have been committed and use some of the latest technology to unravel and even free people who have even been incarcerated.
Well, here's another cliche: justice delayed is justice denied. Let's talk about education and the the claims of these two newspapers. The Ghanaian Times says varsity education to be reduced for 3 years, and the Independent says JHS and SHS leavers to get diplomas. And there's been some clarification from the ministry in a statement. They're saying that these are suggestions, and also with the diplomas, they're saying that it's for SHS, not JHS.
Yes.
And that it's a suggestion. So, Mamavi.
First of all, like, I wonder where that is coming from, considering the kind of system that we run. And I'm wondering, if you finish SHS and you're even given a diploma, what kind of work are you ready to do and what is available for you? Even university graduates, people who graduate from tertiary institutions are having very difficult getting jobs. And I wonder what an SSS graduate could do in terms of formal work. So I'm just baffled that we're even thinking, or we're even raising it for us to discuss. We have a certain system that simply doesn't allow that.
It's an important question you're asking, you know, and I mean, Roland, I don't know about you, but you see, they are taking the example of the United States. When you complete high school, you have a high school diploma. That is what people use to get jobs in the fast food joints and, you know, the non-skilled work. Because you need to have some qualification in order to work. Okay, that's the concept there. Now, here in Ghana, there are people doing non-skilled jobs.
Yeah. And that sector is not complaining.
Well, you see, that's an interesting. I mean, they don't have some formal qualification. If you finish SHS and you don't continue, you don't have a formal qualification unless maybe a WASI certificate. That is if you passed WASI. So if you passed WASI, then you have that certificate. You can use it to, if you're applying for a job in a factory or something, and you are able to do it, and you have that certificate, that qualifies you. But you know, Ghana, culturally, we really like certificates. We like qualifications. That might be the thinking behind those who are making this suggestion. That, well, we want people to be able to get into the job sector.
I have seen jobs, not to cut you, where they say SSS graduates. They are specific.
Yes.
So what difference would this, because they already identify you as somebody who's completed senior high school.
Okay, but you see, the thing is, right now, when you do WASI, you have to not just pass it, but you have to ace it to a certain level in order to even have a chance of getting into university. And all of those others who pass it but don't ace it, they are the ones who are referred to as SHS graduates, because you have the WASI certificate. So I think the thinking here is that now when you do the WASI, it won't just be those who ace it who have the chance of going into university. We have the technical universities and all of these other options of tertiary education coming up. So that once you pass, you have the option of going to university. So that WASI then becomes for those who want to study further.
Okay.
But if you want to work, then it becomes this diploma which you automatically get because you automatically get that because you finished SHS. But you see, the broader question, and that's where I start to agree with you. The broader question is that if I complete SHS, what is the value of my education? SHS is now free. It comes with its attendant issues. Government hasn't yet solved those problems. We have had to go for double track because of our infrastructural difficulties. The quality of education is yet to be tested. We are yet to see how the first group of free SHS graduates do in WASI.
Correct.
So are we not putting the cart before the horse by creating a certain value for the graduation or the completion of SHS, which we are yet to see? We are putting a value on it which is yet to be tested. We haven't seen free SHS graduates, how well they do yet. Yet we want to put a certain value on it that this is the worth of completing SHS, so you should be able to get these jobs with it. It's kind of like you are assuming the thing will work, and so you are, like the family that are talking about what they will do if they win the lottery. And then they say, we'll buy a car. Then they start arguing about who will sit in the front seat. You haven't even bought the lottery ticket. Yet alone,
well, in this case, they bought the lottery ticket, haven't they?
Well,
but you haven't won the lottery yet. You are arguing about who will sit in the front seat of the car you buy.
I think at the end of the day, I agree somewhat with all the submissions that have been made, yourself and Mamavi. I don't know. One, we don't have the benefit of what speech was delivered by the Minister of Education.
Oh, I listened to him a bit.
Okay. Two, the statement, I guess, was an afterthought of trying to clarify the way the whole communication went during the symposium or whatever for the Dankwa Institute. I'm thinking the reason behind the suggestion for us to tinker or perhaps have a certain conversation
like we're doing.
Yes, of having diplomas awarded for SHS or whatever it is because maybe there is an anticipation that Ghana's economy is growing. And so at some level, we need to put some value to whatever skill or social capital that will come out from that level of education. What perhaps has also not been communicated is, how do we expect to see the economy in 10 years, 20 years, for which we can make the comparisons to what happens in the United States of America? Because if you look at what happens elsewhere, as we're making the comparisons to US, the UK, etc., they have formalized their economy even to the barest minimum. So everybody is connected to a certain sim or synergy. So somebody who, for example, is practicing masonry is somewhat linked to a certain formal educational structure if you compare it to what happens in Japan or maybe the US and the other economies we have. So that is more quantifiable. That is also something that can give us a certain data as to how much it's or how many people are getting this sort of education, whether informally, etc. And so then we can make that conclusion to say that, well, if we award them this sort of certification and they get this sort of training, whether formally or informally, then they will fit into this sector. true, we're putting the cart before the horse, but this is a good conversation for us to make, because we say our economy is developing. To what extent is it going to develop? Which numbers are we expecting in the next 10 years? And where are we going to get to in such a way that if somebody has a diploma from, let's say, senior high school, let's say has completed Wege here or whatever, is not able to continue schooling, and so where is that person going to fit? And in what sort of structure? I think that is what we need to get.
We need to see signs of a system developing.
Before we
begin
it looks
to,
like it looks like
throw this into the air and say, let's think about it.
Because we have big ideas, but what do they fit into?
Nothing. Nothing right now.
You know what? I don't know if your mother used to do this when you were younger. At the dining table while we are having lunch, my mother will ask us what we want to have for dinner, and none of us can come up with anything because we are eating lunch. It's hard while you are feeling you are solving one problem to figure out how you're going to solve the next one. You get what I'm saying? So yes, you may be right that a conversation like this is necessary for a nation to have, but is this the right time to have it? We are currently in the process of trying to figure out how to properly educate our citizens, how to properly educate them at SHS level. We haven't solved that problem yet, and we already want to start thinking about what to have for dinner. For me, this is the wrong time to have this conversation. Solve one problem.
We're
then you bring up the other.
fixated on names, certificates.
That's a cultural thing. That's a cultural thing. But this president wants to better educate Ghanaians. That's his vision. That's what he's pushing free SHS for. Okay? You want to better educate Ghanaians. And currently, by the time a Ghanaian finishes JHS, 95% of them cannot read or understand what they read. This is a fact. All right, so that's JHS. So by the time they complete SHS, that's only 3 years after. And you've given them that SHS education free of charge in a double track system. What has been the value? And by the way, those statistics are from a study that was done in 2015. We've talked about it several times on the Super Morning Show on radio. We've talked about it here on this show, and we can actually bring up. I'll remember the
no,
people who did the
we
study,
don't have
and we'll
time.
bring it up on our screen at about 95% of those who finish JHS can either not read or cannot understand what they read. Okay. In fact, the head of the Ghana Library Authority also mentioned it when he was explaining why this is a year of reading. So this is a fact. 3 years after that, when you've put them through
you
free
have a diploma
SHS
and
system,
you can go to the job market and work.
You have to first of all fix the problem of the quality of our education. How many of us are getting this education under a tree? How many of us are having to carry our desk from home to school to get this education? How many of us are getting this education on an empty stomach? How many of us are getting this education where when it's our time of the month we can't go to school? How many of us are having to wade through rivers to get this education? Why don't we solve those problems? Once you solve them, then you start placing a value on the outcome. But if you want to place that value now, when the process itself is fraught with difficulties which we want to address, then are you not putting the cart before the horse? What's the value of the conversation now? I agree with Roland. We must have the conversation, but let's fix a date for it. A date at a time when we have solved some of these problems.
Yeah.
For me, that's my thinking.
I think we have to end the conversation, but it's not bad planning ahead. The thing is, we have a certain precedent of planning ahead but not doing what we have to do now. I think that's why then your conversation and your position comes in, because on hindsight we plan and then we never tend to achieve the milestones that are for today.
I think we have to do some traffic updates.
Yeah,
real quick, just
traffic.com.gh.
Benedict comes to play back those 6 goals. You couldn't even put one in the net. Gee.
It's Mama V. Enough of this.
Okay, off you go, guys. Traffic.
All right, so we'll have to look at the traffic, and this one is the Ring Road Central stretch. And if you know you're coming through,
there's
this
usually
road,
a lot of traffic here around the traffic builds. I think around 8, because when all those vehicles coming from Circle, and then those coming from the Dankwa Circle area. Yeah, so it's a pretty good time right now if you're using this route. Yep. free flowing.
All right, let's have another look at. Should we have another look at one more area? Or
If there's time.
all right, Harbour Road. Yeah, that's a good place.
That's
to,
the Tema
check out.
end of the
Yeah, that's
motorway
right.
roundabout.
Yeah, and there you go, the Tema motorway roundabout. Already traffic backing up, going around it. But those who are streaming onto the motorway to head into Accra, they seem to be having an easier time of it. But actually, no, these are the
No,
people who are-
that's the traffic is those driving
These
towards
are the
Accra,
ones-
correct?
Actually, let's figure this out. So
This one is from those heading to Accra, and where the traffic is are those from Bong.
Towards where?
They're from Afia. They're heading towards
towards Accra.
yeah,
Abi?
towards Accra.
Yeah.
right, where should we go next?
Maybe we can go to Grammys.
Should we?
Okay, so this is the airport city, and so we have overlooking us the airport shell, fuel or filling station, and just in case you usually will go through Tetekwashi, the airport area, through that stretch you want to get into the main road cantonment area, Elwak, this is the route you have to use for now. Could build up, ultimately congest in the next few minutes, if not about 10 to 15 minutes from now. So the right place, you can see that the traffic is a bit slow. You're coming from the airport roundabout right through the Holiday Inn area.
The
through
traffic is
Vodafone.
building
Yeah.
from
the airport roundabout.
yeah, no,
so those
even
coming
from those coming from Spintex.
yes,
you see
yes,
this.
yes. There's a huge strip before the roundabout. Yes. And also, so we have to also take you to Tetekwashi, and Tetekwashi usually is a stretch for those who commute from Adenta, Uyibi, those areas, Medina, and it's already built up. Look, you're coming from Legon, you're in trouble. By this
Even
time.
those who are coming from either Tema or those
Yeah.
who made a U-turn from the mall, joining the N1.
Exactly.
Traffic is building
exactly.
on that stretch
Exactly.
as well. Yeah.
You've lived those areas before.
I know Accra.
Ah, okay. Mama V knows Accra.
Yo.
Okay. So you can get the latest traffic news from traffic.com.gh throughout the rest of the day. Don't forget that. But they bring us those great interventions for us to know the locations and how you can meander your way through the city.
Yeah.
That's right. It's helpful when you're coming from outside Accra into the city and
Yeah,
you have a very limited time here. You know which way to go to
Yeah.
get to your destination.
You guys remember Childish Gambino?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is
Great
America.
guy.
Is that the record of the
So
year,
you know
right?
the Grammys, he won Record of the Year and I think Song of the Year as
Oh,
well.
that's great.
bring us some
That's
Great
great.
guy. He's a
Grammys.
wonderful actor as well.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, yeah.
I've never
very
watched any of
talented
his
actor.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been in many, many movies.
Okay.
We'll do This Is Ghana. Okay, well, even though One Love has done it, our own version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. Right. Well, I guess it's time for the sorry. That's
Oh, can I say good morning to Mr. Frank Ameibo? It was 6 zilch. Benedict, if you missed the goals, Benedict is here.
Oh.
We're gonna relive it live.
Mr.
on
Frank
the AM
Amebo
show.
works with Bost,
well.
Chelsea fan.